guys, I know it has been a very long time since I did a video, and that is because I am taking care of my in-laws' garden while they are on vacation this summer, so I've been extremely busy. My pressure canner has gotten some more use, and I love it even more every time I use it, so anybody looking for a good canner, All-American is a great canner. This is some of the relish I have put up. This is sweet relish made with cucumbers, and here is some zucchini relish. And really, if you're doing a garden and you have an overabundance of squash, which seems to happen if you even think of putting squash in your garden, you really can't tell the difference between cucumber and zucchini relish. You can even use yellow squash, which I am going to do today. Lost my train of thought there, sorry. But I just thought I couldn't pass up the opportunity to show anyone how beautiful this looks in the jar. I just love all of the color in there. And that is because I used red, yellow, and orange bell peppers in there, and they just make it look so beautiful. I couldn't be happier with how this turned out. I haven't opened it yet because it hasn't really had time to sit. It was done on the 20th, and today is only the 24th, so that needs some more time. But what I am here for today is to show you the first, or the second actually, step of making some squash relish. Now, everybody knows how to dice, so I didn't feel the need to show that process. There is about 10 or 12 cups of yellow squash with some green in there. There is a bell pepper, a jalapeno pepper, half of a red, yellow, and orange bell pepper, all seeded and diced as finely as I could manage because this is a lot of chopping. And I put it in this lovely huge bowl, which is perfect for doing recipes for canning like this, with 5 tablespoons of canning salt. Canning salt is important because it has no additives. You can use table salt, but it could potentially leave sediments, funny taste, all sorts of things, because there's additives, anti-caking agents, and things like that. As a matter of fact, all I use for cooking is canning salt, because that's all I want is salt. But this is the first step, and I just mixed it all up in my bowl, and I don't know if you can hear it, but you can already hear it. Sounds a bit like Cheerios, and this was only put in there, I'd say about 20 minutes ago, and you can already see how much liquid the salt is rendering from all these veggies. And this I am going to leave overnight. It's a little bit more than 12 hours, which is what the recipe calls for, but I figure a couple of extra hours certainly won't hurt it. And in the morning, I'm gonna get started fresh, and I'm gonna show you guys how I'm gonna can it. So this is what it should look like. Also, before I go, I'm going to show you a different recipe that I did, and this has been in for, let's see, I did it about 4 hours ago, and you can really tell, excuse that, that's my son, you can really tell just how much liquid you're gonna get from your veggies. So I'm gonna let these beautiful bowls of vegetables sit overnight, and I will see you guys in the morning and show you the rest of the process. Alright, I am back, and let me just make sure you guys can see. since I don't do a whole lot of videos, I don't really have a tripod or anything, so trying to get it where you guys can see what it is that I'm doing, and I hope that you'll be able to see from there. Alright, I've got my lids and my rings warmed, and I've been simmering in jars. Not boiling, but simmering. You don't want them to be too hot, but you don't want to shock them. I usually get out 2 or 3 jars at a time because I don't want them to get too cool. Let's just make sure you can see those. Awesome. Okay. And now what we do is just start ladling it in. This is actually a recipe that I got from another YouTuber, 255 Sage. I do not know how I'm gonna like it so far, but it looks absolutely beautiful, so I might post this as a video response. If you're interested in seeing the original recipe, you can go to her YouTube. I'm not super tech savvy or anything, so I might try to post a link in the description to her video. I don't know how many this is going to do. I've got like 9 pints and a half pint already warm in there, just in case, but I don't think it's going to do that many. I just like to have them extra done up, that way in case you're not sitting there blowing in the wind with not enough jars for all your hard work. I put too much in that. Now the salting process that I showed you guys last night is actually amazing. I got so much liquid out of these. I think I probably took more out than she did, so I'm probably not going to get as many for the 12 cups of squash, but it was really cool to watch it just sort of soak up all of the liquid that you cook in there. And I'll post the amounts that I did of everything, because I didn't do the same amounts that she did. I did less horseradish and what was it? Less horseradish and less nutmeg. Canning is actually very, very simple. A lot of people are sort of intimidated by it. I was anyway. I don't know if everybody is. But it is actually so simple, and it is extremely rewarding to go to your cabinet and get something that you grew yourself and that you canned yourself, and you know everything that's in it. this will just be, I'll go ahead and can it anyway, but I'll probably stick it in the fridge because it doesn't have the right headspace. Okay, let's get all of our dirty utensils out of the way. Okay, it's very important that you wipe the rim of your jars, because if there's anything on there, it will keep your jars from sealing properly. And it didn't look like anything was on there, but you can see just from wiping the rim, there was some stuff on there that probably would have caused some problems with my jars. So I'm just gonna make sure that they're all super clean. Bring my lids over and my rings. Let's see, I've got 3, 4. I absolutely love this jar lifter. It's not a necessity, but if you hold in the middle of your lid, you don't have to worry about your lid sliding all over. I see a lot of people that do them together, and I, for the life of me, just cannot manage to get both pieces over without dropping my lids and having to use a different one, so I just do them separately. It's an extra step for me, but it actually saves me some work. Tighten these finger tight, which to people that don't can a whole lot is if you just use your fingertips, it's just after you start feeling resistance, because the lids are really the important part. These rings are just to hold it in place. It'll form a suction on its own and you'll be good to go. Okay, I'm gonna put these back in the canner. Still have some empty jars in here, which I am not going to take out because I have another batch I'm doing after this one, and I want them to stay hot. I know that's not very energy efficient, but that is how I'm going to do it. Actually, I'm going to take one out because they're a little bit too close with the lids on. I'll let you see how I've got them in here in just a second. Okay. And that's the actual canning process. Could not be simpler. And let me zoom out a little bit. And that is what they look like. Like I said, I've got some extra jars in there because I have another batch that's a different recipe that I'm going to be doing after this one. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut this up to high and get it going. Once it starts boiling, then I will start the time. And these, let me see, how long did she say? Pints are with 1/2 inch of headspace for 15 minutes in a water bath canner. So it'll probably take my canner a few minutes to get up to boiling, and then I'll start my timer 15 minutes, and I'll show you guys the end result once both batches come out of the canner. Okay, this is for the other recipe. And I wasn't going to show you, but I thought that maybe some people might like to see the actual cooking process. This is not 255 Sage's recipe. This is my mother-in-law's recipe with a little bit of modification. I have, after the salt bath that you saw last night, I have rinsed these twice and then drained them very well. And I've got some cheesecloth in here just because this is mesh and I didn't want any of my squash to squeeze through when I push out the excess. Now, she would be mortified if I gave you the recipe for this, but it is very, very simple. This is just about 12 cups of squash cubed up, a half each of a red, yellow, and orange bell pepper, a green bell pepper, and a jalapeno pepper, all seeded and diced. And also, this is almost 4 cups, probably like 3.5 cups of red onion in there that I salted and has been sitting, draining in this. You don't need the cheesecloth, that's totally optional, but you know, I found it sort of helps to keep your stuff from getting squished through the metal strainer. And I'm gonna set you guys back over here. Okay, I have just gotten all of my other ingredients in here. And I just wanted to show you how everything looks here in the pot. Go ahead and cut that on so I can get going. This was about 4 cups of sugar, 2.5 cups of cider vinegar. Let's see. Some cornstarch, turmeric, nutmeg, and celery seed. And it looks very colorful. I have yellow squash and green squash in there. I don't know if you can see. And you won't be able to tell yet. Well, you might be able to a little bit, but the turmeric just gives it a really nice yellow. Probably less so because I used green squash because that's what I had a bunch of. And she usually just uses yellow, so hers is much more yellow. But I'm supposed to bring this to a boil and cook it for 10 minutes before I can it up. So I will do that and bring you guys back when it's done and show you what it looks like. Okay, here we are again. And let me lift you guys up so that you can see what this looks like. This is after the 10 minutes of cooking, and you can see that it has much more liquid than the previous recipe. This summer we decided that what we were going to do was just sort of try a whole bunch of different stuff and see exactly what it is that we like, so that next year when we're doing our own garden, we will know exactly what it is that we want to can, so we'll know what we want to plant. Alright, so I've got my lids warmed back up. Just going to go ahead and start joining these back up. Now on the kind with more liquid, I have found that you sort of need to try and keep as much of the liquid out of your jars as you can, or you'll wind up with floating relish. So let's just get you out of the way. Alright. And I absolutely love this ladle. It is a candy ladle. I got it on Amazon. it's probably a ridiculous amount of money just for a ladle, but for canning, it actually does very well. Its shape, it'll get down in the corners of your jar, of your pot, so that it's easier, especially if you're doing jams and things like that in small batches. You get down to the bottom really quickly. So it's not a necessity, but I thought I'd put that in there, that I really do like it very much. There are some things that you can sort of just use whatever you have on hand. For instance, this is it's actually a Tupperware citrus peeler that I use for my debubbler because I don't have one, and I don't really want to spend the money when I can use this or a bamboo skewer and do the same thing. So canning is all about saving money. You don't have to go out and get all kinds of ridiculous accompaniments for it. In all honesty, if you're going to spend your money somewhere, you should spend it on your canner. If you're getting a pressure canner, that would be where I would put the money, because that will last you lifetimes. There are people on YouTube who are using their grandmother's canners, and that is not something that you can really say about a lot of things, you know? That's why I just keep raving about my All-American canner, because I really feel like if my daughter decides to do all of this stuff, if the end of the world doesn't come and it be necessary for her to do all of this stuff, that if she wants to, she could probably use my canner, unless they come up with a new and ingenious design, which it's been the same design from the beginning, just about, so I can't imagine. But I see no reason why she could not be canning things up for her family with my canner once I am long gone. That the reason I have more liquid in this recipe, number one, is there's more sugar, and number two is the first recipe was shredded squash, which I think is how I'm going to go from now on, because you really do get a lot of the water out, and it makes it a thinner relish. Size-wise, the pieces, it actually reminds me a little bit of sauerkraut. The shape of it, I mean. I think I put too much in that one. And I just kind of feel like that would be a better spreadable relish, like on your hot dog or your hamburger or whatever. It'll probably fall off the bun a lot less than these cubes will. Just move these guys. Ooh, hot. Okay. And I'm not editing this out because I know a lot of people do, but if you're a novice canner, like I still consider myself to be, even though I'm getting a little bit under my belt this growing season, when people edit, it sort of takes, you know, some of the information that a lot of like very experienced canners they might take it for granted that everybody would know these things. And we've gotten so far from, for the rest of it. We've gotten so far from knowing how to do these things. Sorry about that. I mean, I remember vaguely my grandmother doing this, but even my mother, she moved so far away from doing all of this that I didn't learn how to do any of these things growing up. So all of you ladies that remember your mothers doing this, you are sort of at an advantage because you have first-hand experience. It's just like somebody showing you a video of how to drive a car. Yeah, you could probably learn to do it from a video. But until you get in the car and watch somebody do it, you don't really have as firm a grasp on it as you could. And this is a great example of why I'm going to do shredded relish from now on, because it is so much simpler to can up. I'm glad I decided to do this to show you the difference between. Turns out I did not even need that half-pint jar. So what is that? I got 4 pints. And give or take a little bit from both recipes. So I'll probably do a larger batch. Maybe more squash next time. So that I can do a full can because it really isn't very energy efficient to do like this, half batches that way. But in the interest of showing how to do it, oh my goodness, I put entirely too much in you. Let's just take a little of that liquid back out. I'm bad about doing that. Alright, butter. It's very important you stick with the headspace that your recipe calls for. That's why even in the one that has more liquid than relish, I've brought the liquid up to the proper amount of headspace. Because you don't want too much air in there unless you're just going to do like I did with that first can and go ahead and put it in the fridge because you only want a certain amount of air in there. Okay, let's get, I totally forgot my paper towel. Again, it is very important that you wipe the rims of your jars. Make sure that everything is very clean. Like there's celery seed in this. You would not want a celery seed there because it could keep your lid from creating a vacuum. Okay, here we are. All done. As before, just finger tight. The reason you don't want it too tight is because if you do it really tight, like you would close a jar to put in the refrigerator, it won't let the air escape, which is part of the process of creating a vacuum. lid wanted to give me grief, didn't it? Okay. The one item that I really do absolutely love is this lid lifter. Again, not a necessity. You could totally just use some tongs. But I find that it just makes life so much simpler. You just put that right on there and hold your lid down with it. All done. Okay, let's move this out of your way. And we will get these in the canner. Started, and I will show you guys the fruits of all of my hard canning labor when everything is out. This is my finished relish. This is, I'm just doing this one because you can sort of see it a little bit better, or maybe you can't. I'll probably use a full one. This is 255 Sage's recipe, and I think it just turned out beautifully. Thank you, Linda. I love your channel. And this is my mother-in-law's, and that one is still sort of hot. And I think it turned out beautifully as well. Hers is a sweeter relish, so I think they both have their place. But having said that, I think that Linda's way of cutting up the vegetables will do a better relish. I think it'll be more spreadable, won't squish out of your burger, and that sort of thing. And I think that chopped in squares or diced like this will probably work better, say, if you're doing potato salad or something like that. But there we go. That is what I got. I got these 4 right here from Linda's recipe and these 4 right here from my mother-in-law's. Not a bad morning's work, I'd say. I hope you guys enjoyed.